Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about how to load in your first data in Power BI Report Builder. In case it's your first time, welcome to my cyberspace. Now let's get right into it. A lot of times you are learning a new tool, you want to be able to practice, right? And how do you practice when you can't load in the data? You might have issues loading the data in Power BI Reports Builder, and you're probably thinking you need some form of licensing to be able to load in the data, or you need to work for a company to load in the data. You necessarily don't have to, but let's get right into it. So first thing is, I want to assume you have Power BI Report Builder installed already. In case you don't have it installed, make sure you watch the previous video on how to install Power BI Report Builder. So just whichever this is, just X this out, and we have this. So we have data source. First thing, you can't just click on data sets. If you click on get data, it's going to ask you to sign in, and it's asking you, do you need Power BI account? Try for free. This is we trying to create like a Fabric account that is going to expire within 60 days. If you went through this route, this is not what you want to do. And if you also try to say add data sets, it's going, this is one of the things we eventually do, right? But so they're going to ask us what's the data source or whatever it is. If we even try to say maybe options field or whatever, we are not seeing a way to maybe loading a CSV file. If you click on data source, we try to get data, it's going to ask us to sign in again. You click on add semantic model connection, we need to sign in. This is also an option that is valid, so do that. If you're working for an organization, you'll be able to do that. And add a data source. Then you start to, let's click on drop down. We see enter data. This might look like, oh yeah, this is how we can get our data, right? But we never seen anything, we're just seeing this. So the first few things you need to understand is that for you to be able to use Power BI Report Builder, it's not necessarily like Power BI in itself that you can just load in the data directly. You have to bring in data from somewhere, and your best bet is to bring in data from SQL. So in this video, I think if you don't have SQL Server installed, or whatever database that you need to have some form of database. And in case you are confused what is a database, in this video I'm going to be linking in the description how to set up SQL Server and SQL Server Management Studio. That is how we are going to be getting the data to link to our Power BI Report Builder. So because we can't just get any data directly, so let's try to. So first few things is that I want to open up my SQL Server Management Studio. Whatever database you're using, you can use any database, but I want to open this up because I want to show you what the credentials is going to be when we get to try to load in data in SQL or whatever. So try to, when it comes up, so you see this server name, this is what we need. We need this server name. So try to copy this server name and just click on connect, and be sure that you are well connected. So this did not connect properly, so let me just make sure that I'm connected. So, and that's connect. Trust, make sure you click on trust server certificate. Like I said, in case you don't have SQL Server or you don't have a database, you would need to watch that series that I made on how to use database. And I also loaded already the Adventure Work database. In that series also I spoke about how to use the Adventure Work database, so do well to check that out. So we have a database already here, and we have tables, and this is a good number of table. We could use any one, since we just want to load in a data already. So technically, when you are working on a project and you want to make a report for it, there might be some pre-processing that you would need to do already in SQL, and whatever thing you will need to do. So let's say we just want to select the top 10, we don't want to select everything. This is something we can do. We just want to have this. Right now you're we are not doing SQL, but we are doing Power BI Report Builder. I'm just setting up the foundation. Remember the name that we copied in our connection. In case you did not copy it, you can just click on connect, click on database engine, and click on this again. then you have this. So whatever this name is for you, that's the name that we are going to be using. Now let's go to our Power BI report builder. I click on data source and I right click, then I click on add data source. When you click on add data source, make sure you are clicking Microsoft SQL Server if you're using Microsoft SQL Server, not Microsoft SQL Server Analytics Service. That is something else. That is if you're loading your data from SSAS. So we are loading this data from Microsoft SQL Server and whichever you're using. So if yours is Oracle database, well, using Microsoft SQL Server is safe because that's what I'm using. So I click on build and I just put in my server name and leave everything the same way it is. You see SQL clients, the same thing. One thing you can, if you don't have a lot of database in your server, like if you click on this drop down, it's going to show you your whatever you've loaded, the options you have for me. But another thing you can just do is, if yours is not loading, it's taking a minute, I will not just recommend you click on this drop down. You go to your SQL Server and you go to when you try to click on you've connected, you click on your database, click on the database you have, and that's one of the things you want to know. So you just want to look at the, either you click on rename and copy or whatever. So I have the name already. So click on database. Then instead of, one other thing you can do is test connection. If this did not succeed, then the next thing that we are doing here would not work. So you need to try to fix to succeed. Another thing you could do is when you click on OK, if they did not work, you can try to click on these credentials. So just leave it the same. We make sure it's clicked on use current window users. And the reason why this might not work is if you did not properly set up your SQL Server. So ensure that SQL Server is properly installed. So I have my data source connected already. Then I click on dataset. Now I need to add a dataset. So I click on add dataset. So you can call this as dataset 1, or just maybe call this whatever we want to call this, say adventure works or whatever. So I click on dataset. So I'm supposed to have a drop down here, meaning the reason why I don't have this drop down is I did not probably click on this. So I need to click on this data source, add data source, click on build, click on my my database name again. So be sure, that's one way to know if things are working perfectly well. And you don't always have to open SQL before you can work on your thing, your Power BI report builder. Select database name. It's going to give me a drop down. Just going to choose Adventure Works 2019 test connection, and I click on OK, and I click on OK here. So now I have my data source 1. So I didn't change that name. So this, I click on add data set. Now I want to, this is adding the data source. Then I want to pull this data, the data that I have here. All of this data that I have here, I want to be able to pull like maybe 1 or 2 of them into Power BI report builder. So the first thing I do is I click on data set, plus I right click, add data set. Then maybe I call this, let's say adventure works. You can leave it any the way it is, data. Then I click on this drop down for data source. That's it. So you could also do the same process, but I don't think you want to. You can then start to wonder, like, how do you load in the data? So there are 2 options. So one option is you just come into your SQL and copy whatever query or the pre-processing you've done, and go to your Power BI report and paste it just the same way it is, whatever you want. Then you can click on validate query to be sure that everything is going to work fine. You don't have to. If this worked, then you're good to go. Then we click on OK. Then right now we do have like our data loaded already. So in case I want to know to be sure, I can just do, say, let me say insert a table, and I try to bring this. I try to do this just to be sure everything is fine. And I click on run. I would see my report. So in the other videos, I'm going to be talking about like how to run all of this properly well. Another approach is we try to, I could delete this, So another approach is I could load in a new data set. A data set, instead of using this query, I could just do query designer. Also, I need to pick my data source. So I pick the data source and I quickly query designer. So for this query designer, it's going to show me what I do have in all my tables. So imagine you have a lot of tables and you are then having to scroll. That's why sometimes it's just best to click on the SQL query. But when this might be a very good use case is that if you are trying to select things from multiple tables and you don't have the time or the expertise to start to merge all these tables together, so you can just do, say, from this dimension table, I want to pick up the dates, I want to pick up these, you want to pick up something else from these. I'm just randomly picking things, so it's not like I'm not even looking how they are related. So you do that, you pick this, you pick that. Then in case you want to aggregate, you can click on auto detect. So auto detect is just to, like, it kind of finds a relationship because the relationship has already been created in SQL Server in itself, and the following tables are not related to the rest of the query. So because these tables are not related in a way, so that's why it's not picking them up. That's why the best bet is to, but if I try to let me say I just do that and I pick on this, just one, it selects. So we see it does this, select this from this inner join fact says, and I am good to go. So that's one way to load in your data or loading your first data in Power BI report video. If this video was a value for time, do to subscribe, like, follow, and share, and look at the other videos that I spoke about, other data analytics tools and techniques, and also how to use Power BI Paginated report builder better. Bye.